I think it's always cool to, see somebody like come from somewhere and then having experienced some things and then make adjustments and changes in their life to prevent their kids from having to experience those things.
I will say that, and I don't know if this comes from coming from a split household or whatnot, but I will attest this to more so our parents' generation. My father was a father. My father was working. He owned a business. He was there for me during sports.
Yeah.
And our father's generation, they didn't really show the interest in the academics and the schools and the things like that. And that's where I think I'm trying to implement myself, because I don't think that man or woman, it should be his job or her job, and everything. Both parents should be involved. Both parents need to be foot first in their schoolwork and in all of that. And I'm not gonna, knock my dad for that, because he did what he knew, and he did the best he could.
Yeah.
But now it's my turn to do the best that I can, and if knowing that hindsight, and if I can apply that to my kids now, that's all I want.
One burning question that I've had on my mind since I've reached out to you, and it's this: why do dads and golf just seem to be a pair made in heaven? What's up, my friends? Welcome back to another episode of the Proud Papi Podcast. My name is Benny, and I'm so excited because this week I have asked Eric Sorey of Fairway Fathers to join me on the show. We're going to get into his story, his business, and most importantly, what he believes is the most powerful thing about being a father. Check it out. So one of the cool things when I started this podcast, especially about fatherhood, is the opportunity to meet some really cool people, hear their story. And you're not a complete stranger, all right? We grew up in the same town, went to the same high school, have similar friends as well.
Correct.
We're in the same circles. And so, Eric, I got to just tell you, man, I'm super excited that you're here. I'm really excited to hear your story. But there's this one burning question that I've had on my mind since I've reached out to you, and it's this: why do dads and golf just seem to be a pair made in heaven? Because I don't play golf, but almost every dad that I know plays golf. So explain to me how golf and fatherhood, how that just seems to work together.
Well, it depends. Is your wife's watching? No, you get 4 hours to yourself.
Yeah.
You get 4 hours to reflect.
Yeah.
You get to go have fun, drink beer if you drink beer.
Yeah.
And just to kind of go and let loose. Some dads use it to get away from whatever chaos they got going on. Work, kids, wife, whichever. I use it to go and have fun and try to keep some sort of sports in my life.
Right.
Because I can't do anything. I try to play basketball. I'm going to pull a hamstring. Back's going to go out. I don't know. So you play the old man game.
Right.
But when the old men are still beating me, we got problems.
Right.
But no, it's a good getaway. And sometimes my daughter, she's been asking to come out with me, and she's getting to that age. She's about to turn 7, and I'm looking forward to spending a lot more time with her out there.
Yeah.
She's showing interest.
That's cool.
Outside from me.
Right.
And, she was picking something up, and a little ball, and she was hitting it with a stick, and just like a golf ball. And we did the baseball thing. And if that's an interest of hers, I would love that.
Yeah.
Give me another excuse to go out there. Come on.
Yeah. So did your dad teach you golf, or is that something you just kind of picked up on your own? Or
I actually picked it up later in high school.
Okay.
Maybe just outside of high school. A couple buddies just went out.
Yeah.
Started hitting the ball.
Yeah.
And it just turned fun.
Yeah.
And everybody was doing it. And, if you grew up in our era, we got to watch Tiger and just dominate.
Yeah.
And I kind of started to really grasp it and fall in love with it.
Right.
And, no matter how bad you are, you can still love it, because there's always that one shot that's going to make you come on back.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear.
It is so true.
I hear people say, I'll be out there all day, have a horrible day, but then I get this one hit, and I'm just like, ooh, Like you, like almost like I'm like this close to like figuring out this game, you know. But then I hear they go back and it's like, no, the game humbled me today,
and then you're even worse than you were the time before.
Right.
And there's still the one shot, and it'll usually be on hole 18.
Yeah,
that'll get you to come on back.
So you've been playing golf now for some years, then, and you probably met a lot of other people out there, and met some other dads. So and then you shared that now your daughter's taken interest in. And what is that like? I know you said a little bit, but how does that make you feel that you and your daughter now have this, like, you know, something that you can both share together?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember the first time she wanted to watch football. She
Yeah.
had no idea of what football was.
Right.
But she showed the interest because of me.
Yeah.
And she wanted to spend that time with me.
Yeah.
And then I kind of started thinking, okay, well, what are her interests? How can I spend that time equally back with her?
Yeah.
Hers was cheer.
Right.
So then what am I doing? I'm out on my hands and knees letting her do stunts on my back and doing things like that.
Yeah.
But when she said golf, it kind of took me because I was like, I've never really put it around her or exposed it to her. And she showed an interest.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you kidding me? And we went out and she loved it. And she has to go back. And I love it.
Yeah.
Because again, I love to go out there, and when the kids are having fun, I'm having fun.
Yeah.
And when we're having a common fun, it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I have friends that keep telling me like, oh, we need to bring you out to the course. You need to just come try it out. And I'm honestly, bro, I've been putting it off. I'm like, no, maybe not this time, but dude, I'm telling you, they're going to get me out there. I know they are. They're going to get me on the course.
And you won't regret it.
And that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. You're going to have to find time. Make sure you can find time for a 4.5 to 5 hour hobby.
Yeah, exactly. So look, man, we kind of like, I think you were one of the first people that I kind of connected with since we started doing this about fatherhood, and immediately connected with you. Didn't know it was you until we actually started interacting. I'm like, oh, I know this guy. And then, but what really like caught my eye about your page was Fairway Fathers. And so obviously we're talking about golf. You have an interest in golf. What is Fairway Fathers?
So Fairway Fathers is a golf apparel company that I started with my wife in March of 2023. My daughters, they are the ones who kind of drove me to doing it.
Wow.
We started out making Disneyland shirts.
Okay.
And on the little cricket.
Yeah.
And my daughter was just infatuated with it.
Yeah.
And she just was like, oh my gosh, we made that. And then it was for my bachelor party that I was looking for some shirts. Yeah. And I saw these companies and they were charging an arm and a leg. And I was like, wait a second, that's not Nike, that's not Callaway, Titleist. Why are they doing that? And I said, the materials, the designs. Okay. And so I kind of tried to put two and two together. Yeah. And I asked my daughters to come over to the laptop. And I was like, hey, girls, what do you guys think of this? And then my youngest, she was like, I want that one to be yellow. She was talking about a flower. It's on one of the shirts. Yeah. And I was like, okay. Yeah. So we switched it. And then we kind of just started implementing their thoughts and ideas to what I thought a golf shirt should look like. Yeah. And then it came time for the name, and I had no idea. I was like, a name? How do I compete with Nike? Yeah. But then it hit me. If you, just like they always say, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Right. I love being a dad. Yeah. I love golfing. Yeah. I put two and two together, Fairway Fathers. Yeah. And from there, I needed the design. There's only one person I call, Lila, my oldest. I said, hey, baby, I need some help right now. Yeah. And then she said, and she wrote it out, and that's what it is, and it's turned into today. Wow. So your daughters help you with all your designs. Correct. And then you said that your other daughter is the girl in the image, right? Yes. My youngest, Aria. She is, I forget, she was about 18 months in the photo. And it's just us blacked out, and I could go back since the very beginning of all three of my kids' life. Yeah. That is my favorite pose, is just holding them up. Yeah. And it kind of just, it hit. Yeah. And I wanted to implement both of them into it for their hard work. And it's turned out, and it's working really well thus far.
Wow. So you've only been doing it since March of last year.
That was the idea.
Okay.
It came in March.
Okay. So when did you guys start making shirts and
we got
selling
our first shipment of shirts in November of
Okay.
2023. That was our first order, and the patent or the trademark was accepted on November 15th.
Okay.
And so we have both of those,
Yeah.
and it's up and going.
Wow. And people can get these on
Online,
the website?
fairwayfathers.com.
Nice. And any size, any design? Like how many designs do you guys have on there?
Currently, we have 7 designs.
Okay.
And I'm hoping later April, early May, we're going to have 3 different hats, this being one of them.
Nice.
And we are working on 2 more shirt designs and
Yeah.
then a pullover.
Yeah.
So we're slowly but surely implementing some things.
Yeah.
It does take time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not, just overnight.
Yeah, right.
But it's worked out great.
That's awesome. Now, you just recently had a son,
Correct.
right? How long ago was this?
7 weeks. He'll be 8 weeks on Friday.
Wow. So now he's got to get integrated somehow into the Fairway Fathers, right?
Somehow, some way, and I'm thinking of it. I hope you're not listening, but it's coming soon, son.
Yeah. I love you, son. Don't worry. So, man, let's talk a little bit about just like your home. I mean, you have 2 daughters, right? What are their ages?
My oldest will be 7 in May.
Okay.
My youngest daughter just turned 5 in January.
Okay.
And my boy, again, is 7 weeks.
And so kind of share like just some of your family. Like you just recently got married as well. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
And then so your son is your first kid together, correct?
Correct, with my wife, yes.
Right. And so your 2 daughters are from a previous relationship.
Yes.
And so just kind of explain that blended family, because you guys got a little bit of that going on right now.
Oh, yeah.
Like what's that like right now with your current wife?
Today is awesome.
Yeah.
I will say, me and my wife, it has been an amazing year,
Yeah.
and I got nobody else to thank but her.
Yeah.
With all of her support. We have my 2 daughters come every other week. We have them Sunday to Sunday.
Yeah.
And they get to spend the time with their mom at her
Right.
time.
Right.
And it's really good right now. I'm sitting here pondering it because it hasn't always been like that.
Right.
There's ups and downs.
Yeah.
But today, I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful for what my children get to see.
Yeah.
They get to see a friendship between their mother and father.
Mm-hmm.
They get to see a friendship between their mother and stepmother.
Right.
Something that I always kind of wish I would have seen
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah.
Because, I come
Right.
from a similar background.
Yeah.
Split household.
Right.
I just really would have liked to have seen those things growing up.
Yeah.
And for my daughters to get to see it, it's just a big relief.
Yeah.
And I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy today to know where their life is at when
Right.
it comes to the split households.
Right. And so growing up, your parents were split as well. And you had mentioned it was even before you could remember they were already split.
Yes.
Right. So that dynamic between your dad, your mom, and your stepmom, was that dynamic not always
No.
as good as what yours is?
So it's kind of crazy. I do not physically remember my parents ever being together.
Yeah. You could bring the mic up a little.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember them ever being together.
Yeah.
My first memories, yes, are with my father and stepmother.
Yeah.
And no, they didn't always get along.
Mm-hmm.
From my earliest times, I remember, trash being talked on both sides about one another and things like that. And there's only one person that feels uncomfortable, and it was me.
Yeah.
Because I love the other person that you're talking about.
Right.
And hearing that, it was hard growing up.
Yeah.
And that has been one of my biggest things to try. It hasn't always been perfect. No.
Yeah.
But today, I really can say that they don't hear those things.
Yeah.
Because of the effort that their mother, me, and their stepmother all put forward.
Right.
And it's on a day in, day out basis.
Yeah. Now, and is that something like that you guys kind of like talked about beforehand, or just something that like you guys just kind of knew like, hey, we're not going to be like that with our kids?
I will say this. It was, their mother knew my situation
Yeah.
when we were together, so she knew that I always felt about that.
Yeah.
And my wife, she knows about it.
Right.
They both have kind of, I'll say, helped me with that. My wife kind of goes above and beyond because she knows what it means to me and
Right.
what those little girls mean to her and myself.
Right.
It's been more trial and error.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's where we are today.
Yeah. I think it's always cool to, see somebody like come from somewhere and then having experienced some things and then make adjustments and changes in their life to prevent their kids from having to experience those things.
Correct.
Like, so what are some of those things that you are like, these are, again, they could be little, right? Like, hey, these are some things we're doing at home. These are some, I'm taking more time reading with them, coloring with them, doing this, like to be able to change like that experience for them.
I will say that, and I don't know if this comes from coming from a split household or whatnot, but I will attest this to more so our parents' generation. My father was a father. My father was working. He owned a business. He was there for me during sports.
Yeah.
And our father's generation, they didn't really show the interest in the academics and the schools and the things like that. And that's where I think I'm trying to implement myself, because I don't think that man or woman, it should be his job or her job,
right,
and everything. Both parents should be involved. Both parents need to be foot first in their schoolwork and in all of that. And I'm not gonna knock my dad for that, because he did what he knew, and he did the best he could.
Yeah.
But now it's my turn to do the best that I can. And if knowing that hindsight, and if I can apply that to my kids now, that's all I want.
Yeah. And I think part of that too, Eric, is like, and since we have kids, we know this now more than ever. Like, we want our kids to do better than us, right? Like,
big time.
And so I know that our dads, even though they did what they knew, like, and I say that because my dad, didn't help us with homework, not necessarily because he didn't believe in academics, but my dad came from Mexico, was learning the language, and so didn't know a lot of what we were actually doing in school. But for sure, my dad wanted us to study because he's like, I want you guys to do better than me, you know? And I think now that we're looking at what they did and going, okay, and like our parents gave us this thing, and now we're gonna add some stuff, take some stuff out, because we want to hand this off so that our kids can run with it further than we can. Like, I think that is the beauty about fatherhood and parenting.
It's just like sports.
Yeah.
You're making mid-game adjustments.
Right.
And you're working on the fly.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of the things that, I'll put sports and parenting together is set the tone.
Right.
You have to set the tone. And when do you do it? You need to set it early.
Yeah.
In sports, if you set the tone for your kids early on, well, then you have that much better of a chance in succeeding with that. And that's kind of been, I don't know, my thought process when it comes to instilling the kids and their values that I wasn't taught.
Right.
And we'll see how it goes, but I'm trying my best with it.
Yeah, I think that's the best that we could do. I think giving our best is really all our kids really need, right? Like, I think if we're attentive and we're there, we're present. So we both. You grew up playing sports. You play football? You play football, right? Did you play anything, baseball?
I played baseball growing up, and then after like sophomore year. I think
and then you just stuck to football after that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I played baseball through high school. So, but kind of share, like, you mentioned that your dad was like your best friend growing up. Like, talk about that. Like, what was your guys' relationship like when you were, just growing up?
I remember I started football at 6, and always being outside, playing baseball, football, basketball, just doing all those things. Getting to go to work when he had a business, I got to go to work with him. He did tile, so I got to go look at all the pretty bathrooms and kitchens he was doing at the time. And that's what I wanted to be like. That's what I wanted to do. Be there for my kids as much as possible, and make money and have a business, and do what every dad should. But growing up, you start to realize that there is more that could have happened and things like that. My dad currently still is my best friend.
Yeah.
He always is and always will be.
Yeah.
Role model I've always looked up to.
Yeah.
He got me into sports. He got me and kept me with it. And if I wanted to quit today, well, we're going to try it out tomorrow and see how you feel, because you might not feel it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I worked with him. He has his company. I helped him run the company. So we've always been super, super close.
Yeah. What were like some of the things that he did? Because I think just that statement, like, my dad is my best friend. Like, for me, I'm like, I hope my kids can say that one. You know, like I think that statement like speaks volumes about the way your dad raised you. Mm-hmm. You know, so what was that relationship like? What kind of conversations you guys have? Like when you made a mistake, or when he was angry, when you were angry, like how would he handle those things? Like, what was his tone like? Right? You say set the tone. What was his tone like at home?
Oh, he set the tone.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I'll be honest. You know, I was never spanked. I was never anything like that. Our conversations were always kind of just like cut and dry and like real for what they are. You know, if you're getting in trouble, well, why? Let's address what it really is. Let's not sugarcoat it and go, beating around the bush. No. Yeah. And I think that because he kept those conversations with me like that from an early on age, we could always just be open and out front with things and not have to hide things and hold things back. And that was kind of just honesty about a situation, good or bad. Yeah. Those were kind of just how our conversations were. I was always commended and praised for, when I did things, but I was also let know when I messed up. Yeah. Again, never spanked and anything like that, but a conversation when his voice changed where it was respected. Right. And it was like, okay, you're right. Yeah. You know, I had to go to my room for thises and the that's. But yeah, it was always awesome. Yeah. I think that's so cool. Like, I think, how dads discipline, what does that discipline look like? It's always interesting, there's different. Yes. No, there's definitely different ways. I think. Well, no, there's just to see. Yeah. And you still have the old school people. Yeah. And right or wrong, do your thing. But then I don't know. I've had daughters first, so I was like, that was just. It made me so soft. Yeah. I'm just like, that's my baby girl. Yeah, I can't touch her. I can't even yell at her. Yeah, right. Exactly. And it's crazy to see because, again, there's so many different ways of parenting and none is right. None is wrong. Yeah. But just like you said, as long as you're giving your best, I don't think a kid can ask for more. Right. Because if he gets your best day in and day out, they're getting the best. Yeah. And the best of you. Right. And that's what they need. That's what they want. Right. I think. Yeah. I think it's like good conversation and questions that always like ask yourself, like, what am I doing? Am I doing this? I mean, I always ask myself, am I doing this right? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm not doing this right. But your little your bedtime story. Yeah. You got me really questioning myself at times because I will be sitting there and I'll say, okay, just enjoy this. Yeah. Enjoy this. Enjoy the enjoy it. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Because it goes by fast, man. Like, and I think you've probably already been experiencing that with your 7-week-old baby boy. Like, man, this thing is moving a lot quicker than I remember. So okay, so you had a great, and you're one of 4, you said, right? Correct. Are you the oldest, youngest? I am the oldest. Okay. I have 2 brothers on my mom's side and 2 brothers on my dad's side, and they're all close. Yeah. Or close in age. Right. I think the 2 youngest are 3 days apart. Wow. So my stepmom was leaving the hospital and my mom was entering the hospital. Nice. Wow. So, keep them real close. Yeah. And so what, like from your perspective, what is that relationship with your dad as well? Like, is it similar? Like, what's the gap between you and youngest? Is it a lot? It is, I think 8 years.
Okay.
8 or 9 years.
Okay.
There's a 6-year gap between me and my youngest brothers, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And growing up, we got to definitely different households.
Okay.
At my dad's, I didn't get to, wrestle with my youngest brother, and so they were scared I was going to hurt him.
Yeah.
Things like that. And when he cried, he typically got the way.
Yeah.
My mom's side, I roughhoused a lot more.
Yeah.
With my brothers. DDTs.
Don't worry, we did too, bro. Don't worry. Right away.
It happens.
Yeah.
Stitches at 3 years old.
Yep. Eli, it's happened, right?
that my little brother, I DDT'd him to a VCR. Date
Nice.
A VCR, and I got him right there on the eye.
Yeah, I DDT'd him on the door of a car, and he had a nice little cut there too. So it happens. It happens, man.
Day?
Baseball picture. Oh, shit.
Yeah, she was pretty upset. But
it happens.
So okay, so you're having to go between both homes. You mentioned that kind of growing up, your story kind of mirrored your dad's. In what ways?
Me and my father, we both have split households, but it was all through high school. Similar incidences happening, life events.
Yeah.
We had children he had a second. When at the same age I had my first. Similar things that were mirroring each other all along the way.
Yeah.
Well, we both got into a little bit of trouble growing up. Outside of high school, I was never in any trouble, anything growing up.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It was outside of high school that I started to get in trouble with the law and whatnot.
Yeah.
Likewise with my dad. It took him a few times before he figured it out.
Yeah.
It took me a few times before I figured it out. But I did. I figured it out. And there was one real low point in my life. And I was looking at a long time away. Yeah. And it was right then and there that I realized, who am I?
Yeah.
What am I doing right now? This is not me.
Yeah.
And my dad is the one who talked me out of that, talked me through it, and showed me, and he lived through it. So I kind of got to mirror that image, and know that there was a little bit of hope.
Right.
And that's 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That's 10 years ago. Actually, 10 years ago today.
Wow.
10 years ago today. And I've not had to look that way since then.
Yeah.
It's been a roller coaster of a ride, but he made it out, and he is the one who gave me hope to know that I could too. He comes from a household with no father, just a mother. So he didn't really know everything, but I know he did better than his father. Yeah. And he did a damn good job, as if he did have a father. We both got into relationships early on, outside of that, and we both had children at the same ages. We both did tile. Oh, he did tile, and he got me into that. Yeah. So I kind of, picked up his footsteps. Yeah. And then, like he did, I separated with my kid's mother and found a wife. But things that are even deeper that mirror my daughters, I truly don't believe will remember me and their mother together. They were that young, 3 and 2. Yeah. There's all kinds of things like that. And it's crazy to kind of watch history repeat itself. Yeah. But it is. And I'm happy where I'm at. Yeah.
I think there's, the fact that your dad, like the things that you were going through, your dad had already gone through. I mean, I'm sure those conversations he was having with you was like, hey man, I've been there. I know exactly where you're at. And you knowing like, yeah, he ain't lying.
He said, I know where you're at. Yeah. But I also know what you're gonna go to and where you're gonna go. Yeah. And predicting it as if, and had I listened to those words the first time, I don't think any of the afters would have happened. Right. Yeah. And I wish I would have listened earlier.
Yeah. I think we all would wish that we would listen earlier.
Very much so.
I mean, my dad, you know, coming from Mexico, had obviously a very different upbringing than we did. He has 12 siblings, so a lot bigger house. But dad was always at work and mom was the homemaker. That's the way he grew up. And, you know, like I had my dad on the podcast like not that long ago, and he was kind of sharing his story. And honestly, and I felt kind of bad about this, but it was like probably one of the first times I've heard him like share his story, like, and like actually sat down, like listened to him. Because a lot of our conversations, like my dad didn't really know how to have a heart to heart. You know, his dad didn't really have a heart to heart talk with him. His dad just kind of told him what to do, how to do it. And my dad did it. And so growing up, like at least with me, my relationship with my dad wasn't always like, hey son, let's sit down and let's figure out what, you know, my dad wasn't like that. You know, my dad was more like, well, you can come talk to me if you need anything, but I didn't always do that.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. And it kind of made me realize like, well, my dad really tried his best. And there was things that he admitted, like, I wish I would have done this differently. But one of the things that I found myself was that because he said, I wish I would have talked to you guys more. And then he made a comment of like, I wish that our relationship was like the way your guys' relationship is with your kids. And it made me think like, hang on a second. I actually have a hard time too having conversation with my kids. I don't always open myself up to conversation with like, oh shoot, like I gotta change that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just it was crazy, like seeing myself a little bit and going, oh man, but I almost wanted to stop and be like, Dad, my relationship isn't like all that great. You know what I mean? Like, there's things that I need to work on too, still for sure. But just hearing his story like really kind of opened my eyes a lot to like understanding who he is, his upbringing, but also seeing like, okay, so like this is kind of how my dad set me up for success and how I can take this thing even further. Yeah. You know? But like you said, I wish I would have heard some of those things the first time.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, when people ask you, you live, or how do you want your funeral to be? Right. Or what do you want to be said at your funeral? Right. Well, you got to live like that. Yeah. Well, what do you want your kids to remember you parenting them? Right. And when our kids get to be this age, how is that conversation's going to be? I don't want to have regrets. Yeah. I know that it's going to come with regrets. But if I can try to at least keep it on my mind and try to at least live hindsight a little bit and look towards the future on what am I doing today and how is that going to affect them down the road and not just tomorrow, long ways down the road. Yeah. And until 30 years down the road. Right. And when they're having these conversations with us and we're having them with their grandkids. Yeah. And what you do today, it implements tomorrow and it impacts forever. Right. And I'm a firm believer in that. And that's where set the tone. Set the tone early. Yeah. And set the tone in the kids.
I got to tell you, I enjoyed my conversation with Eric so much that we cut into 2 parts. So part 2 is coming next week. And I want you to let me know in the comments, do you think that I should golf? Let me know right now. And listen, if you love content like this, go ahead and follow this channel, follow the podcast where we drop new episodes every week, and it's all about fatherhood. Thank you guys so much for joining. Until next time, peace out.